the biggest misconception of people watching football is not understanding how big and physical the trenches is to be able to block and sustain and hold somebody in that spot that's trying to get through. So I think for people watching football need to understand that's a grown man going to tackle another grown man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my guest host today is the 6'6", 300-pound lineman hailing from the great state of Minnesota. He's your most recent signee to the San Francisco 49ers here in California. North Dakota State legend, UFL champion, Zack Johnson. What's up, Zack? How we doing today, bro?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Hope all that information is accurate. I know NFL likes to kind of play with height and weight sometimes, but we're good there. You want to add in? You run like a 4.4.
Yep. When I came out, they were kind of I think it was 301, but I was like 310 at the time, so I don't know what happened. I must have missed a little bit of weight, but it's all right.
We're technically in day 2 of the off season now that the Super Bowl is wrapped up. We just spending time at home. Like, what's the off season regimen kind of look like for you right now?
Yeah, so obviously the season gets done. Took some time off a little bit. Back at it, working out as of a couple weeks ago, and then back to her.
I know you were mentioning off camera. It's what's the weather like in Minnesota right now?
Yeah, it's pretty cold up here, so it's about -17, so it's all right.
Now you said you do some ice fishing. So what are you catching out there? Like, I know zero about fishing, so get me caught up. Like what are you catching ice fishing?
Yeah, so there's walleyes and northerns and stuff like that, and then obviously go down the rabbit hole of that. But there's a lot of fish you can catch, crappies. It depends on what kind of fishing you like to do and like how much fun you want to have.
Man, okay. So we're just getting better at football and just catching fish.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it, man. Jumping into like your most recent signee for San Francisco, have you got a chance to spend much time in California? Do you get a chance to come out here at all?
I was out there a little bit, and then I flew out there week 15, I think, was my workout, and then I came back on week 18. So yeah, it was good. I went back and forth, but I didn't have too much time to spend out there, so I'll have to have more time in the off season here to get back out there and train with them and stuff during OTAs, and spend some time.
Love that, man. Obviously, you got to be excited. Well, first and foremost, welcome to California.
Thank you.
Mexican food's amazing. So if you love tacos and burritos, man, like, we got
Love
you.
it. Yeah, that's what I heard. Good stuff.
Did you get a chance to watch the Super Bowl at all?
I did. Yep.
Like, I think the biggest takeaway from me, like, just as a casual fan, is the importance. Like, you can never have enough linemen on either side of the ball. So someone like you, like, it's a complete Swiss Army knife. Like, you can play guard, you can play tackle, so you play a little bit center as well. Like, you, when you're watching a game like that, like, are there days as a lineman where it's just like, dude, how do you combat such a strong, fast defensive line like that? Like, what's a conversation like with quarterback, with offensive coordinator, like, when you're in war like that? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, you got to obviously make adjustments as quickly as possible and try to see what's going on and fix those mistakes. I thought they played pretty clean for the most part. Just the Eagles' defense was just flying around, honestly.
Before we jump into the football, kind of a little bit with your career, though, I do want to give a shout out to Whitney Holtzman.
Mhm.
Your representation, especially like a lot of movements being made for having women, female in sports. If you don't mind me asking, like, having social victories is your representation. How did you come into working with Whitney, and then what's that process been like, having her, help with contracts and things like that?
Yeah, it's been great. So obviously, got with Whitney about halfway through the season. Um, Agents just it is what it is, and I can't play a hold of that, and I can't blame anything on anybody except for myself. But having Whitney, it's been great. Got to the contract and all that stuff, so it's been good. It's been a long season, but like you said, I was in the UFL and then traveled down the path of that, and she's helped me through after that and getting back to the league. So that's been all my goals have been there. So I mean, there's still a lot ahead, but she's been there every step of the way. So I've been thankful.
Yeah, shout out to Whitney, man. And I've spoken with some other agents and definitely have a right representation, like, believe in you and help you through any journey. And your
Right.
journey, I got to give you props, man. Um,
Nice.
a large portion of the league goes through a very similar situation as you, undrafted free agent, started in
Mm.
Green Bay, been around the league a little bit. 2024 is a big year for you, and I got to give you congrats, like pat you on the back, man. So not
Yeah.
only did you sign with the Niners, but you were a UFL champion,
Yep.
and
It was a
somebody
long year.
who, yeah, I was watching the Battlehawks a little bit this season, and then seeing you guys win. Like, talk to me a little bit about like the first year of the UFL and then being a champion. Like, what was that process like for you? Like in a first year league.
Yeah, obviously it was cool for sure. Coming, I mean, they were already back to back champions, so it was kind of nice to get back with that and stuff. Um, I know that there was a lot going on, just to say the least, basically just with the team and high expectations and that stuff. But I've
Yeah.
I've been there before, and that was the thing I talked with the GM about. It was just knowing how to win, the culture that I came from in North Dakota State, stuff like that, where it's just been easily fluent and like made it easy for me to get back right back into that. So I was thankful for that in that process, and I mean it was just great. I mean, obviously had good times with them and stuff. So yeah,
Dude, love that, man. Congrats again on the championship. And I know they made a huge push on being almost like a feeder league for the NFL, allowing
yeah,
guys like yourself, guys from different walks of life and career paths to jump in, get a lot of really good film like out there for the NFL for situations like this where you're signing a new contract. What was that competition like, NFL wise, UFL wise, like on brand?
yeah. I thought it was really close. Honestly, it was good enough for me to be able to compete, show my capabilities. I mean, there's guys that are in the league that signed all year with teams. So that team is honestly becoming a little feeder team, which is awesome. And obviously, me being able to showcase my talents and make sure I'm doing what I need to do to get done really helped me get back to the league. So yeah, in a sense, it really saved my career. But I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the future holds either. So
Man, yeah. So like those are strong words, like saved your career. I'm not sure if you're like comfortable talking about that a little bit, like the mindset for people who like don't really know your path. Like I said, 2020, I believe it was, undrafted free agent. We've spoken with other undrafted free agents on the show, and it's a little nerve wracking. Like third day of draft hits, like you're kind of like unsure about things, and hopefully, agent at the time is talking to some teams that like, hey, I've got my guy Zach out here. What was draft process like for you? Like, if you want to take it way back then, man.
man, I'll be honest, it was kind of miserable. I was training down in Tampa at the time. Um, shout out Taylor Scott and them down in Tampa, D1 Tampa. But they did a great job with me, getting me prepared, ready. I mean, I was explosive coming out. I dropped a couple pounds. I looked really lean, really fluent. And then COVID hit. TV started going off, all this stuff, and everything happened. And COVID hit, and it just was. They started pulling scouts off the road, everything. So for those that don't know, there's scouts that go on the road to obviously look at every small school to try to make their ways around to make sure they see everybody, give everybody a fair shot, whatever, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, they started pulling scouts off. Some guys started to go to other schools to do the workouts to get them in quick, but mine just didn't happen. So I think the best thing that we did was we took a video and we just started sending it out, as my agent did during the time. And yeah, that's how we went about that process. And basically, my film and hopefully the championships from NDSU helped carry that weight, but it didn't, which is totally fine. And I'm gonna keep fighting for my way back into this thing because I think I deserve a lot more than what a lot of people think. So yeah,
Dude, it's like it's tough, especially too when I'm not sure what it's like trying to break down lineman film. Like a lot of casual fans like aren't able to do that. As much
yeah,
film as I watch as a non-coach and non-scout, I'm trying to learn a little bit through this draft process on what to look for. You like, is it fair to like equate you almost like a Swiss Army knife? Like you're
yeah,
very
yeah,
versatile. Like
yep.
what are you bringing? If you had to sell yourself to Niners fans or like who are unfamiliar with you, what are you bringing to this already dynamic offensive line room for the team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can do any position. That's been my whole thing. I mean, when you're undrafted, that's like the dream thing as a for a coach, and you're able to be like, hey, I need you to go play here, and it's no questions, no answers. Just I'll go do it. It's fine. I've been that way throughout my whole career, and ended up snapping in the UFL, and then from there it just kind of took off. I went to Cleveland and kept snapping, and now it's I'll play interior, I'll play outside. It is what it is. As long as you give me a fighting chance, I mean, I want to win football games. So I think that's what the Niners want to do too, and that's what they're getting.
Dude, I think that's a great word to describe you. Like just looking on paper of your career, like you're a fighter,
Yeah.
expanding past just draft night, being able to sign some futures contracts, practice squad amongst a few teams. Like, talk to me a little bit about the mentality, and even if about like the toughness of it for you personally, of team after team, and like just staying ready, because there's something about that. Like you can't fall off. Like you have to stay ready the
No.
whole time, and that's tough for anybody, not even in sports, to do, man. Like, how did
Yeah.
you stay so confident and just keep pushing, like no matter what?
I just knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be honest. It was just kind of like, hey, how do I keep grinding and keep getting through this? I actually got when I was done with Green Bay, I linked up with Billy Turner down at the training house here in Minneapolis, and he's been a mentor of mine ever since, and I couldn't be more thankful. We just kept grinding. I knew exactly when I got cut or anything happened, I would just go back there or come back to NDSU here with the guys and stay humbled. It was just a little chip on the shoulder that kind of put more weight on me being able to fight and being like, hey, I belong. I beat a lot of guys out. They know that. The coaches know that. I worked harder than anybody, and it's unreal. But it's a part of the game, and you got to understand that as a player. So I think that's the hardest part is trying to stay ready. But when you stop, and that's the toughest part is you can't stop. You got to keep working out, keep driving, and things will come.
It's like, yeah, you can't, like, once you stop, you can't get that back. And I think your championship pedigree, like, definitely comes through a fight like that. And
Yeah.
I don't think I feel bad for defenses, man, because like there's nothing scarier than one, not just a talented lineman, but then now dude's got like a chip on his shoulder. Like,
Yep.
now you gotta
Yeah,
play a
that's
pissed off line.
yeah.
um and speaking of North Dakota State, like, I definitely don't want to gloss that over. Like, how many championships did you win over there?
I won 4 out of the 5. So
Oh my
three
god.
when I was playing, but one I was a freshman, so I wasn't really playing. But
I mean, it still counts, man. And like you
yep.
won, like you helped win three by playing. What is it about that program? Like, for a lot of people that don't get a chance to watch North Dakota State until they pop up at the end of the season, they get a lot more coverage ESPN wise during like bowl season and things like that.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, for
what is it
sure.
about that program where they just keep just feeding championships?
Just the culture. It's the culture, the guys, the locker room, the strength staff. I mean, it goes all around the board. I mean, everybody just cares so much about football up here, which is awesome. And it's just guys that want to fight. And at the end of the day, it's like, hey, they weren't picked up by the U of M or they weren't picked up by a local school like Wisconsin or anybody. These big schools that are just so close. I mean, it gives those guys those drives, those chips where it's like, hey, they want to make a big name for themselves and they want to win championships. And I've ever since I came here, they always told me, hey, you come here, you'll be a champion, and that's what it was. It was no cut and dry. It is what it is. I mean that's exactly what happened, and I couldn't be more thankful.
I got two questions kind of based on that. What do you have of the championships that you won? Do you have a favorite one for any reason?
Oh man, yeah, honestly, 19, my senior year was kind of special to me. Honestly, just because obviously the way things were going. I mean, coming off of two more, and then coaches left to K State. My O line coach and everybody. I mean, it was tough on me, but I got a new guy in and Blazik, and he was great too. And it was supposed to be a rebuild year, and it wasn't. I mean, us captains, Ben Elson, me, Tuska, just wasn't. We didn't want it to be that way. It was like, hey, we know what the standard is. We wanted to raise the bar and keep this thing moving, and that's what the culture is really about. Is trying to make sure like how to keep this winning culture around and make sure. I mean, NDSU is that dominant football place. So yeah,
That gets tossed around a lot, and unless you've been in like football locker rooms, like it's been, man, it feels like a lifetime ago I was ever even in a locker room. I played a little bit at Humboldt State, played a little
okay,
JUCO out here in California,
yeah.
and for people who had been on a team, like culture, they don't really know, they can't like discern that, they don't know what that means. What's a big part that North Dakota State instilled in you that you think speaks to that culture? Like, it could be a habit, it could be like a rule. What's a big takeaway you have from that that helps you even today with culture.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of it. A lot of it has to do with just the work ethic, your ability to go from day to day. I mean, get up, get breakfast, like just how you go about yourself and carry yourself is just so unbelievable to me when I've gone into the real world or see guys on other teams and how they, either mope around practice or have a bad day, and it's like, hey, it is what it is, and you got to keep fighting through. And I think that's the craziest part was like at NDSU, the culture was just so well known, and all the guys cared kind of about each other. Where if somebody was having a bad day, you knew that, and you could pick them up or help them get to where they needed to be to maybe at least get them through the practice, and then talk to them after and see what's up. But I mean, you never know. It's life, and there's a lot of things that happen. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of football to be had, and those guys all cared about each other.
It's the greatest team sport, man. That's why a lot of like the second you're in the locker room, like if you're there for a few years, like those are your brothers for a long
Yeah,
time. And I'm sure you probably talked to all your guys from NDSU. Um,
yeah,
Translated like culture into pros. And before we dive more into the 49ers and your new team, like now you've seen how different organizations run. Like, is there anything that surprised you amongst these teams that like things are different or maybe things are the same? Because rarely do we get a chance to talk to somebody who's been on different teams. And I think
yeah.
that's like a wonderful perspective to have as a veteran.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the hardest part is trying to go from organization to organization because there's different coaches, there's different ways, different philosophies. But at the end of the day, there is kind of the same thing, and that's football. At the end of the day, it is football. And as long as you try your hardest and play your hardest, I mean, it's really hard to not show that you're good at football. So that's the thing that always gets me is like these guys make it sound so difficult sometimes, but when you fight and you want to be there, I mean, you got a chance.
Dude, I love that. And I think that that mindset fits in so well with San Francisco. Me being a rival Rams fan down here, like we, it's crazy because like we almost get like envious sometimes. Like I know some fans aren't gonna like hearing that watching this. We do get
Mhm.
envious of that culture up there. Like they're tough. Like they play mean on offense and defense. Like it's very
Right.
unique up there. And you're walking into an offensive line room that has a future Hall of Famer in Trent Williams. Now you're coming in competing with guys like that. Dominic Puny had a great last year as well. What are you excited most to bring, or maybe even to learn from guys like them in this offensive line room?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the thing, kind of has been my whole career as well. I started off in Green Bay, and I mean, I'm going to go back a little bit because these are all guys I've learned from. I mean, David Bakhtiari, or Billy Turner. I mean, we got Joe from the Browns. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that I've just been able to learn from that have been established vets in this league, and just seeing how they carry themselves and being like, hey, like it's time to work or something like that. And I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm excited about most is just being able to learn a little bit more about them. And I know we talked a little bit about the Swift Army knife. That is exactly what I am, and that's how I learn from people too. I see how they do their thing, and Trent is a very unique guy that nobody in this league could ever mimic. They try to a lot, and I don't think it'll ever happen. He's just a unique athlete that is explosive, everything physical, and I mean that's another O line coach's dream. But
Yeah,
I just can't wait to learn from him and these other guys in this room. And yeah, I was a little bit with them at the end of the season, but I mean, we'll see how far it goes.
dude. Those are some good names. Joe Thomas, man. I know, like I think he had the record for a while of like most consecutive start, at least for Cleveland. Like he was like their Iron Man. Like you just never not on the field. Do you have any big lessons you took away from either him or David Bakhtiari? Like I know he had to have a tough mindset. He dealt with a lot of injuries. He was just always fighting and fighting.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, David was kind of more of my mentor when I was coming out. I was at tackle primarily, so I kind of just watched him a lot of tape on him and how he handled his business throughout the games and came out flying and explosive and stuff like that. But I mean, David is just a unique character that is also one of those linemen that it's like, hey, this O line coach would love him in the room as well because he brings everything to the table. He's explosive, big, and physical, and I mean he's consistent, and that's what I think is the most unique part. As long as you're consistent in the line room, you can have a good shot at whatever you need to do.
Man, the culture there in San Francisco as well. Like what is it that drew them to you? Because at the end of the day, like it's a two-way street. Like you have to agree and like, yeah, I definitely want to play there. Like you could have said no. Was there anything specific about whether it's Shanahan or just a culture in general that like really drew you? Like, yeah, I'd love to freaking play here.
Yeah, honestly, it was just kind of like just like Green Bay. It reminded me of that winning culture when I was there. We actually lost to San Fran in the playoffs, and it was a little bit of thing that I forgot about until I hit got there, and I was like, oh man, like I know this feeling, I know this team, I know they want to run the ball. I like that. There's a lot of things and pros that have came about that really kind of hit me personally in my kind of fit that helped, and I was like, all right, well, this seems like my kind of squad.
I love it there, man. Technique wise, like this is where I kind of want to get a little technical with it. And you can kind of teach me a little bit. Obviously, like you could just imagine the differences trying to learn tackle, like left side or right side. Do you have a preference for your skill set?
Nope, I've played both. I'm fine with both. Some say I look better at left, but I played right most of my career, so I don't get it. I don't know how it works, but my body just does it, and I'm totally okay with it. So
Dude, I can't even like drive with just my right. Like I'm right-handed, but I can only drive with my left, let alone try to fully function on both
yeah,
sides trying to block 300-pound guys.
yeah.
Um, how do you train for that? I don't understand. How the hell do you do that?
Yeah, so like the thing that I was taught in college was just keep mixing things up, keep trying things. You gotta know that it's a game within the game, and you have all your tools in the toolbox and make sure you use them all. You don't know what's gonna happen during the game, so I mean whether it's you're fighting and you gotta switch your hands up, the guys swiping your hands and you gotta pull them back quicker. Whatever it is, you gotta make sure that you know that you can throw your hands and make sure they land or try to figure out what's the best tool to get in the situation. And I do understand there's left and rights, but once you keep mixing it up in practice or whatever it is, tape, and just being like, hey, this is what this looks like. Let's try this. You can find a way to get through it, and that's what I think is most cool about the league is like there's they'll throw you in at right or throw you in at left. Most tackles that come out go straight to guard because they don't want to put them on the edge right away, but it's a part of the process.
That's tackles definitely get more of the as a spotlight just because you're up against a premier like on the opposite end is usually the high paid like outside backers, defensive ends, the Micah
Oh,
Parsons,
dude,
Miles
yeah, for
Garrett's you're going to
sure.
deal with. Um, has there been any guy, whether it's in practice or like or live, that you've gone up against? You're just like, how the hell do they build guys like this on the defensive
Yeah,
side?
I've seen a few in my time. Kenny Clark, dude, Zadarius Smith,
That's a good name.
Twitchy.
Yeah.
He's a little basketball guy, but I mean, let's like, yeah, there's just those athletes where it's like they got their own little Swift thing, and that's cool and that's great for them. But once you get a hold of them, you can hopefully lock them down and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, for anybody who's never played football and you've never had an offensive lineman the size of Zach like grab you, like you're not going anywhere. Like
Once
it's
once it's
ridiculous,
locked
man.
up, it's locked up. It's done.
I remember like just messing with my lineman and like piss them off enough in practice and they grab onto you like yeah you're not going anywhere.
Mm-mm.
The technique wise like something a lot of fans are paying more attention to is what defensive coordinators like to do, like scheming wise, feigning blitzes, being able to articulate pressure from different positions. Is there anything that linemen like get pissed off the most when you see whether it's like just seeing stunt after stunt, if it's a specific like move by a defensive end? What
Yeah.
do defensive coordinators do? Where you're just like, dude, I hate playing games like this.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely obviously a chess game at the end of the day, but I mean once you get pick up on some tendencies and stuff like that, I mean the safeties will tell you a lot, so that helps. And just being seeing linebackers and blitzes like that, once it kind of comes, you can get a tell on things throughout the game, and hopefully, I mean like kind of what we talked about Super Bowl. I mean they were throwing some crazy stuff, so it is
Yeah.
what it is. But at the end of the day, you got to just figure it out.
What's the most difficult part of trying to pick up any kind of stunt? Like that could be just interior, like the zero and one of the edges, or it could be like a linebacker edge mix. What's the most
Yeah, like the
complicated part
ET
doing
or
that?
TT or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. I mean, I think the hardest part is just, I mean, we're all on levels as the offensive line, right? You just got to make sure you're on the same level, passing that stuff off, just trying to make sure that at the end of the day they don't get a, don't get a shoulder on a guy or get through. That's where the problems come in, and either one guy stays on too long or too late, and yeah, just ends up in a sack, which you don't want to have happen.
I always find that, like, I got two thoughts on that. The first one is it sucks because you can have a 99.9% perfect game as a lineman in your position, and then you have one bad play out of like your 80 offensive plays, and that's the highlight. And so it's just
That's the
like
highlight.
so like yeah, it's so non-complimentary to you guys.
No
And
news
the
is good
second part,
news. That's how
huh?
it's been. No news is good news. That's the thing. You just no news is good news.
Yeah, true. And then the second part I find most difficult is you have to be multitasking. So like that's such a challenge. Like if there's a stunt coming, you get a guy crossing your face. You have to have peripherals. Like you don't know where it's coming from unless what is there like a misnomer that us casual fans get wrong about linemen when you get all this shit like flying around you? Is there something that we get wrong every Sunday when we're watching?
Yeah, I think a lot of people just see it and they just say, "How does that happen?" You got to understand these are 300-pound men trying to sack another guy or get through you. So I think the biggest misconception of people watching football is not understanding how big and physical the trenches is to be able to block and sustain and hold somebody in that spot that's trying to get through. So I think for people watching football need to understand that's a grown man going to tackle another grown man. And at the end of the day, they're angry.
Yeah.
Like
it
it's the craziest thing. Even with my parents, I'm just like, he's like, my dad's like, how does that happen? And I'm like,
just
I don't
block
think,
them. Like,
I don't
come
think
on,
you
Dad.
understand. Like, yeah. So it's fun. It's funny in games when I hear that when whenever I'm out or watching a game with some people if I have time. But it is funny. I mean, there is hiccups in games too where people do just totally do the wrong thing, and that's not good, obviously. So yeah, but
Having a good quarterback helps a lot of that. I think that's another misconception with O linemen too. For fans that are watching, is they don't really understand how much communication is happening pre snap,
yeah.
um, like between lineman and quarterback. It's not just you guys got to figure out who to block in front of you. Like that stuff happens beforehand. What are you most excited about having a quarterback like Brock Purdy, who, again, as a Rams fan, like I got to put him up there. Like he's one of the top guys in the league. Very smart. He can definitely help out mobility wise. But
Yep.
what excites you the most as a lineman having a quarterback like Purdy?
Yeah, obviously, I think what excites me the most is just him being able to just see which way the protection needs to be. I mean, what I've seen so far and stuff, it's been like being able to protect the O line almost in a way, having that ability to turn the protection the right way so he doesn't get hit. It knocks off a lot of things and a lot of weight off our shoulders, being able to obviously keep him protected. So that's where I see the most of it coming through. But yeah, that's what I'm really excited about.
Nice. And then not to give away, and then if this part makes you uncomfortable, I don't want to give away like contract stuff and everything. Coming in, are they seeing you more like a guard fit, tackle fit? Have they had conversations about where they see you fit best most on this line?
Yeah, yep. So I'll probably be obviously at Swift Army knife as well. I will be interior for the most time. I'm pretty sure is what I kind of understood when I had those conversations when I left, um, and that's fine. So I mean, like I said, I was in the UFL doing that, and there's no biggie. I came out of college, doing guard, so it's totally fine. But I played tackle in college too, so I played it all, so it's all good.
Dude, that speaks volumes of the direction they're going to be heading into this offseason of getting like you got a guy like Christian McCaffrey. Like obviously they want to run the ball.
Yep.
Now that's another fan misconception, like or that may be true. Is it like linemen? You guys just prefer to run the ball or pass pro? Like do
Yeah.
you like really have a preference?
No, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I like to run the ball. I mean, you get an explosive block or things like that. I think that fires me up a little bit more than just a pass protection. I mean, there is pros to pass pro. I mean, you punch through a guy and stuff. There's some crazy stuff that I've seen on tape this year, which is just insane. But yeah,
Do you got a like I know with receivers and stuff like they want to try like a new release. Like is there what's the equivalent for linemen? Like be like, hey, check out the tape this week. I'm gonna try some crazy shit. Like,
Yeah. So there's like jump sets and stuff like that where obviously you get on a guy quicker. I mean, in pass pro, um, yeah. I mean, not really for a run protection standpoint. Most of that stuff is kind of just making sure you're driving through them, taking them on the angle you find them, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's ball, and you just want to win the football games and score touchdowns, have fun with the boys.
have you ever thought about if you? I know sometimes running backs or receiver they'll give or quarterbacks they'll give one of the linemen the ball. Like especially Jalen Hurts did that in the Super Bowl. Have
Yeah.
you had thoughts of what your touchdown celebration would be if they gave you the ball?
Just spike that thing, let it fly. You gotta get it out of the TV screen though. That's all that matters.
Yeah, get some height on that bounce.
Yeah.
Now, now that I'm meeting you, I got like I'm thinking of George Kittle. Like, who's you guys gonna have hair competitions, man? Like, who's got the better hair between you and
Yep.
Kittle? Honestly,
Yep. Yeah. We had I obviously met him, when I was there and stuff, and we started to click a little bit, which was fun. I mean, I'm a very electric guy. I mean, I like to think at least I like to have fun at practice. So, I mean, we'll see what happens during OTAs in this next upcoming season. So, I'm excited.
Zach bringing the juice, man. I love that when Lyman just got the energy. Like, it makes for some physical practices. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it helps. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to have fun practice, have fun with it. I mean, we're playing a children's game, and that's what I feel like most people kind of forget. I mean, it's grown men playing a children's game, and that's the funnest part about it.
I love that when guys can remember to have fun with it because like there's so much business like side of it, and I get it. Like it's man, it like it has to be there. But at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, it's such a pure, the greatest team sport on the world that you get to do. Um,
100%.
Man, like, that's actually really good advice for anybody entering the league. And like as we get closer, like to the end of this interview, I do want to kind of ask like your experience going through like the draft process and talking to multiple different coaches on different teams, is there any part of like your game for a lineman that coaches really focus on or like really nitpick, whether it's like hand placement, whether it's foot speed? um, Talk to me about like the evaluation process of what they look for.
When coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things. Obviously, you go through your basic protocols. Does he pass the eye test? Is he physical? Stuff like that. Which I mean, obviously, most of the boxes for me get checked, which is fine. There are some guys that I mean don't look as big in person as they do on film, and they're just not as tall. Maybe they're shorter. I mean, it is what it is, and that's just a part of it. But when a guy's coming out, you just want to make sure they check all your boxes, and that's what it kind of comes down to, I think. When I was coming out, I got lucky. I got invited to the NFLPA game. I came straight after the national championship, which kind of put me in a weird place. I mean, I did. I was fresh enough to be able to play, but I also was coming off a 16 game season. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you kind of play your battles. But I really enjoyed my time there, and it made me able to meet other scouts and teams and players and coaches to be able to be like, hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we want, and I was able to showcase my abilities as well.
And as you mentioning again, like having such long seasons, like you had to have played so many more college games than like most other linemen who don't get a chance to go. Like I know they really expanded the college football playoff at the FBS level. Like
Yeah.
how much do you think that's helped you in the league in any way, like physically or even mentally through your career so far?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the FCS ball just because of that. I mean, it was more kind of pro style. I mean, we got back from the championships. I think we had a week or two off, and then we're right back to it. So it's really helped me
You know,
in my life just based off of like the league and their kind of their system and stuff because or their calendar because I go the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Get a week or two off, then you're back training and back to it. So I mean, my days have not really changed since college, I guess, because I just keep training. But it's good.
so you're just a grinder, man. Like that's gonna make a lot of Niners fans feel good about
Yeah.
protecting their soon to be very rich quarterback. They gotta extend him this offseason.
Yep.
Um, so I gotta ask you a question from one of my good friends. He's a huge Niners fan. He's excited to watch this episode when it comes out. He wants to know. You keep talking about off-season training. I know you mentioned some guys that you work with down there up there in Minnesota. What do you what is part of your off-season regimen? Like, what are you doing specifically to improve your skill set this offseason?
Yeah, obviously getting the workouts, getting the cold tubs, getting the sauna, stuff like that. I mean, it's always good for the body to make sure you can get your body back after a season. I mean, like when you come out of the league or come out of college, you go kind of on this long thing. You got the draft, you got a bunch of things you keep training for. But once you're in the league, you kind of get a little bit of time off in February if you're not in the playoffs or the Super Bowl, and then it gets in OTAs. So during that time, after your first rookie year, you got a little bit more time. So that has kind of come full circle to me because I did the UFL, and that was basically 10 games during the spring. So
Yep.
that's the hardest part is I basically went back to the rookie year again and doing full football year long, which is great, and that's fine. Went through the fall of 2023, and then 24 went into spring ball with UFL, and then back into football this year. So um, it's a crazy off season, and I get it. Everybody's got their own schedule. Some go on vacation and stuff like that, and get out, get away for a little bit, and come back. So, but for me, I've kind of just done the same thing, and that's just come back, see the fam, and train, and um, make sure I'm ready to go for next year.
Damn, man, you sound geared. You sound ready for this season. I'm
Yeah,
excited for you,
I'm
man.
pretty good.
No, I'm excited for you. I'm not excited to watch you potentially, beat the hell out of some of my Los Angeles Rams linemen, but
Gotta be careful what you say, though.
no, man, I'm excited the fact that you're in the division. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Like getting to know anybody on the West Coast that's playing football out here. Yeah, you haven't got a lot of chance. Like, you got any questions about California? Like, what are you unsure of? Like, you got Bay Area. I'm
Yeah, I
assuming is
know it's
way different than
crazy. I mean,
Minnesota.
when I was there, the fires were going off, and that stuff was crazy. But that was down in
No.
LA, so it's just, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, it's always good. It's always good weather when I was there. So I'm like, is it always good that like good weather all year round?
uh, for the most part, yeah. Like, we don't really get seasons like
Okay,
like the Midwest gets. Like, yeah, snow is not a thing. You can leave all that stuff back home.
you don't want
Um, nah, man, we're good. You can keep all that snow stuff there. All your snow gear though, so you got to pack less. You don't got to worry about snow gear.
it. That is true.
Um, you get some like so Bay Area, you get some rain, you get some fog, like, but it's annoying because it'll be cold in the morning and then by noon it's hot. You're just carrying all your rain shit. It's just like why do I even bother with this?
Yeah, but you never know. When it rains, you don't want to be wet.
the Trying to think. So I'm a big foodie, so I'm gonna
Okay.
I'll have one or two football questions and I'll let you get out of here. But food wise, man, what was it like? What do you guys grub on in Minnesota? Because I'm used to California cuisine. Like, it's a lot of Mexican food, like big melting pot out here. But like, what do we got in Minnesota? If I'm coming to your hometown, where are you taking me? And what are we eating?
Ooh, I don't even know. A lot of burgers. A lot of burgers are eaten around here. Um, Stuff like that. Red Cow, nice restaurant downtown ish. So there's a couple branches of them. Yeah, those are good restaurants for sure. So, um, but yeah, a lot of burgers, a lot of greasy food. That's for sure, which isn't always good in a pro aspect. So I try to limit my intake. But it's always good to get a good burger when you're back here and stuff like that.
Yeah, Bay Area's gonna have a lot of food. You big sushi fan?
Not as much. I do like tacos though. Tacos, you got my interest for sure.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely LA for sure. But I mean, all California, bro. As long as you're not going past like, I don't know, like, just don't expect like Humboldt Valley up there to, or Humboldt County to have any tacos for you. But Bay Area is gonna be good.
Yeah.
No, I'm extremely excited for you, and I think the way I want to wrap this up is like, I guess, to Niners fans one more time, like, what are they expecting getting out of you coming into this season, and then what are you most excited about for the season as well?
Yeah, I'm just excited to get back with the boys and running around doing football and stuff like that. That's easy for me to say, but I mean obviously just the grind of it and getting back into it. And it's only February, so I mean we got a lot of time still, which is great. Like I said, there's two processes coming up. There's free agency and there's also the draft, which could swing a lot of ways everywhere. But that is probably the most thing I'm most excited about is just getting back there and getting a fresh start with the coaches and being able to see them when they're not a season was over when I was there. It was just not obviously the best time. So
Yeah.
And I understood that completely. So, I mean, you want to win football games and everybody's happy, but when you're losing, it's not great. So,
How do you that raises a good point. Like you've been around so much winning in your life, like you understand like what it takes. Like when you're in a locker room and like things aren't going as well, like is there how do you snap guys out of it? Like how do you regain that juice? Like that mojo is really hard to like capture in a bottle. Like what as you as a like a perennial leader on championship teams, like what do you do to get that shit going again?
yeah, so you just got to remind guys that it's a week to week thing. I mean, every week's a new week, and you gotta move past that week. I mean, whether it's a good game, bad game for you, you won, you lost. I mean, it's great, but those weeks still come, and those games are gonna be played. So you got to understand that you got to reset and get focused and be able to be ready to go.
I love it, man. And that's applicable to real life too. Anybody dealing with anything mental, like that is that's huge. Wake up the next day and just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the
well,
hardest
Zach,
part too, is when you bounce around teams, you just don't know. Like, I mean, I sat home all of 2023, and I was just waiting for a call, and nobody called, and it is what it is. It's football. It's a business. We talked about that, and then the UFL called and came knocking, and it was like, sure, I'll come play. Like, let's do this. And then I wanted to get back to league, and here I am. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about just being able to present yourself in the right situation and the right time.
that's I can't imagine like not to like amplify any like career struggles that you may have had or like felt, but I can't imagine that like I think I look at the numbers like over 10% of the league's rosters are undrafted free agent guys. So there's just a huge pool of guys that didn't even get a call during the draft that are just working and grinding. And there's like hundreds of guys that are just still waiting on teams or to make
Right.
a team. Like I yeah, I can't give you enough props, man. Like
I
enough
appreciate
guys that like just quit and you did not.
it.
Like who helped you most? Do you think during that time, like when you're just sitting there waiting, especially like 2023?
Yeah, honestly, it was just my family. I mean, my now wife. I mean, it was just they understand at the end of the day. I just needed to just get through these times and make sure that I mean I'm staying focused on the end goal, and that's obviously to see to play football games and be on a team. Like I said, my mentors. I mean, they definitely they're in my corner for sure. And I've obviously spoken with them and strength coaches as well. I mean, they know when you're not obviously on your good days or your bad days. So I would talk to them, and obviously it helps to work out and stuff. So I do understand that there is a point in time when people want to give up or call it quits, which is totally okay. And I'm just not one of those guys. I want to make sure I get what I deserve because I think I fought for a long time, and I want to make sure that I'm ready to go. And yeah, like you said, I might sound ready to go now, but I mean, once the season hits, I'm going to be a little different animal because I want that stuff, and that's part of my life that I think I deserve.
The way you talk, man, it sounds like if week one was tomorrow, you'd be ready to roll.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when you sit home for a little bit and you're like, hey, I think I'm ready to go. But I mean,
You ready to hit someone in the face, bro? I can feel it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Well, hey, man, I wish there was more guys like you in the league. Honestly, like just pure football lovers. Like I feel like a little bit of that's going away with a lot of guys on these some of these contracts. But it sounds like you're just a like through and through, just pure football, and I love being able to talk to somebody like that. Um,
appreciate it.
you kind of brought up your personal life a little bit. Congratulations! I heard you got married recently.
Yep, yep.
Congratulations!
Last
You want to shout out
summer,
the wife at all?
say it again.
I said, you want to shout out the wife at all?
Yeah, obviously Marley Johnson. That's my wife. But I mean, it was crazy. I got done with the UFL, came back, got married, got on a plane, flew right back out to Cleveland. So it was a quick weekend and a half home, and turn around and right back to football. So you can't say no to it, and she understands the process. So I mean, like I said, these people are in my corner, and I couldn't be more thankful for them. And that's I think kind of one of the things that helps a lot of guys is understanding the family and the struggles, the sacrifices that have been throughout everything. I mean, I've a lot of holidays are missed. I mean, throughout college, it is what it is. We were winning championships, and that's why our teams have always been so close and so competitive. Whether it was the second strings or whatever it was, I mean, there was always a guy ready. If a man was down, a man was up. It was you're ready to go, and we had no what ifs. If this guy wasn't good enough, the second strings and third strings might have been just as good as me starting.
And that translates to the league too. Like the world's not perfect. Like having a support system is so critical, not just on a team, but in your personal life. Like
Yeah,
you can't just have, a few friends that you made in the league. Like everyone goes home. They got to put their head on the pillow somewhere at night. So I'm super happy to hear like you've been able to push through having your support system. Like just even outside the game, that's so important. Like I'm a big advocate for mental health and men's mental health. So hearing
yeah,
stuff like that, like I love hearing it.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and
Sometimes it
man,
doesn't get talked over enough. It's always a good reminder to make sure like everybody's got somebody to talk to. I mean, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, you gotta talk to somebody sometimes, and make sure you got somebody in your corner, or some that you can at least talk to and at least express whatever you're going through. And I think it helps. You just got to make sure you talk about those things.
dude, they've got San Francisco like hit a gem signing you, man. Like just hearing you talk about football, hearing about your experiences, like they absolutely hit. I hate that phrase, the diamond in the rough, but they found a
I
diamond
hope
in the
so.
rough with you, man.
Unfortunately, that's how my career has been, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. I mean, it's humbled me. It's made me who I am, and I mean, I want to keep playing. I want to make sure my career keeps going as long as possible. It's unfortunate how these undrafted guys sometimes get overseen, and sometimes there's just not enough eyes in the world to see where these players come from and stuff. So I appreciate it.
Dude. And like likewise, like for you landing on the place like San Francisco, again, being a fan of a rival team, they have a very passionate fan base. Once they see you hit someone in the face, man, I guarantee you that fan base is gonna love you forever. So you definitely hopefully you found your home here in California. If we were able to connect, I owe you a taco. Like I will buy lunches on me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd love a taco, maybe a burrito, a little bit bigger.
Gotcha, man. We'll introduce you to some Cali love. The way I like to end these things, because I don't want to take all of your morning with your new wife.
No
I
worries, you
am
working.
I feel like everybody that comes on here is incredibly smart. Us smart people like yourself, we believe in conspiracy theories because we question everything. Do you have a conspiracy theory like mine? I don't think pigeons are real, but that's just me. Our last guest believed in Loch Ness monster, and I
Oh,
I subscribe to that. You got
wow.
any conspiracy theories? I know Minnesota might have their own stuff as well. So what do you got?
A lot of conspiracies are up here about the UFOs and the aliens and stuff. That's I don't know. I do think there probably is something out there, but I mean I don't know. It's crazy. I don't have one that I'm really set on yet though. That I'm like, hey, that's possible. But I mean, there's some that are interesting. That's for sure. And yeah, I don't know. You talk about the sea too, the ocean. It's so huge. I mean, it's deep. I don't. There could be anything.
No, you're right. I do believe there's aliens. I just don't think they've been here yet.
Yeah. How would you know that?
That's I feel like we would know. I feel like they would like announce something. Like, come on, like the way I look at it, they're so advanced they could fly around space, but they just happen to crash here all the time. Like I don't. Well, they just
Have
got
you have
bad.
you
Like
ever have you ever been in the woods, or like have you ever been like northern, like I guess like in the woods in California? I mean, there's a lot of land.
there's a lot of scary shit out there. I just thought
You
about
think
that.
about the city, you get out of the cities. I mean, there's a lot of things that you don't even know that happens. Probably it's insane.
Yeah, I think the woods creep me out a little bit more than the water. Like I think I've seen too many movies like, where I'm like, definitely
Yeah,
not going to the south. Like I'm good.
yeah,
I'm not
right.
going out
No,
there.
I get that for sure. But no,
What
I
do you
don't.
get? What do you guys have up in Minnesota? Like, do you guys have like your version of Sasquatch? Like, what are we talking about? What scary
Uh,
stuff?
lot of lakes, up here.
Uh,
Minnesota's known for 10,000 lakes. Um, Wisconsin is they got lakes and stuff. They've kind of been known for more of the Sasquatch sites and stuff like that, which is totally cool. I mean, a lot of Minnesota does that as well. So yeah, it's always fun and stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of lakes here, a lot of that stuff, fishing, hunting, that kind of stuff. But yeah,
well, sweet man. Well, hopefully you're gonna get in your fair share of ice fishing and some hunting up there. But I don't want to take your whole morning. I appreciate you joining me today. Do you have any final words? Like, you want to take 10 seconds to say something to Niners fans?
awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on and stuff. And I mean, obviously to the Niner fans, I mean, you guys know what you're getting out of me, and I'm ready here to play and win football games.
Hell yeah. Well, I am officially dubbing myself the president of the Zack Johnson fan club out here in California, man. Rooting for you. And unfortunately, we'll see you twice this year.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.